G'day guys. I was just doing a couple of upgrades on some more detectors and I came up with a thought because it presented itself to me as possibly being an issue in the future, and that could be with any detector. Um, yes, well, older detectors, yes, it's already proven to be an issue, and when I'm talking about the older ones with these mylar based copper connector strips. They're actually, people call them a flexible PCB, but is it? Yeah, I suppose. But yeah, the flexing is the problem. I'll just move this tripod out the way so I can get in here. I'll put this out there. There we go. Ignore my mess on the bench. I'm building up some experimental stuff, and yeah, basically that's what we call, well, we used to call it breadboarding, but now we'll call it plastic boarding, I suppose. I don't know. And we didn't use bread, but that's the term we use, breadboarding, for making things. Anyway, um, these ones here, this is a, what is it? Oh, it's a 4500. It's been kicking around for some years, and this is fairly flexible. There's no problem with that. And you don't really want to do that because it work hardens the copper. And the copper work hardens, I've said this many a time, it will break. Now, this one also, I don't know if that's a new thing from the factory, but it's all full of hot melt glue in there. And that is a damn good idea, because if this connector becomes loose, because it's clamped down on plastic with the back nut, of course, and plastic shrinks over time with pressure applied. Um, if you tighten it up and it goes, moves left, right, whatever, these will try and move left and right, up and down. And because this is all anchored to the rest of the board, it's all one piece. This isn't going to move back and like that and that. It won't do it. What'll happen is you'll get breaks all around here. They'll all break. And if you look at it with a not a microscope, but a magnifying glass, or something with a bit of magnification, unless you're 5 years old and got really good eyesight, you can see hairline fractures forming around where the solder is connecting onto this copper mylar. Where those connections are, they're like this one here. See how I'm reaching around a really awkward angle here? See, that one there is just, it's got a gold flash plating on it, but that is the copper here. That is where the copper isn't covered by that mylar. It's been in the process, it's been exposed. All these connections here will have that exposure where the copper is exposed, and that's how come you can solder to it. You cannot solder to the mylar, it's an insulator. So you see the tracks running down wherever they go, and they go to that push-in connector. That push-in connector, which is vibrating madly, uh, these on the end, those little fingers don't have any mylar on that side of them. Thus, they bend easy and they crack. They fracture through very easily. You'll lose functionality, you'll lose power, you'll lose audio. It'll be intermittent. The detector won't hold settings. It'll make a funny tone when it starts up because it's lost one of the data lines, because obviously it needs to talk to the main CPU to make it work. And they fracture all the time. They're just very, very thin. If you look at it edge on, you know, that's the mylar, and that's just plated on there. It's just circuit board stuff. It's not very thick. But anyway, they have gold flashed them, and that would be about 0.00001 cent worth of gold. It's very thin. It's not worth anything. So These are okay, but what I found on the 6000 of all things, have a look at this. Now this has big fat. Oh, I wish I had this done differently. I'll get behind it. Here we go. Now I can use two hands properly. This one here, it's got two very fat lines of copper trace. That's for your battery, by the way. That comes off here and then goes onto here. But this detector's not that old, and even though the guy's been using it, this is stiff as a board. It really is. And the reason probably being is that it's such a big, long piece of strip. Uh, and the way I look, I don't know for sure. I'm just giving my opinion on this, but I've seen this stuff break before. The bottom bit here is stiff as a board too. You know, it's been beefed up with a backing, so is this though, but this one's not that stiff. So I don't know if it's beefed up more, the mylar's thicker, uh, or this copper is becoming work hardened through what I would say is that it's sitting in the car. The way this goes together, the board it goes in like that, and you've got this loop sitting there like so when it's all mounted together. And who knows, is this whole plastic thing picking up vibration and then just, you know, because of heavy connections here, transmitting the vibration into the copper and sitting there going wobble, 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 wobble and work hardening? Uh, you know, you'd probably have to have a vibration test machine, put it on and find out and see if there is a resonance. Um, very similar to going over a corrugated road at a particular speed or something. I don't know, but I'm just surmising because this is logical and it can happen to all these detectors with this bizzo in it. Actually, it happens to detectors just with wires. Vibration on the older ones, uh, you open it up so it stopped working, and you just touch the wires near the coil connector and they just fall off. Because of the vibration, it just work hardens the copper and it just snaps off at the solder point. It just goes snap, snap, snap. I've had many old 2000s. As soon as you open up, power leads or a power lead is hanging off, and you brush it with your finger, the other one falls off. Coil connector leads, yeah, common with vibration. You don't think about it, you know. It's a box, you can't see it. You know, you don't think it's happening because you don't see it. Um, you know, to make these things last a lot longer, you could fill it up with not styrofoam, or is it not the other stuff? You know, it's I don't know, it's like a sponge, some man-made chemical sponge thing. It's like you'd find in an old cheap extruded mattress or something. Yeah, it's foam. You know, I don't know what you call it actually. It's yeah. Well, you can. It's like a sponge, but it's got smaller holes. But anyway, something like that. Anything's non-conductive, and it's not going to sit there and absorb moisture from anywhere. These things are sealed anyway, shouldn't do. These aren't. I've seen plenty of water run down uh, any of the 4500, any of the detectors. It pulls up in the bottom where the screws are, and it just gets under the screw and in it goes. Not a problem. So a lot of people, I'll get this off. I'm going to show you this because a lot of people I know modify this. Okay, you're working along out in the goldfields. It's got a screw missing, of course, but that's where the water gets in, right? So you're working away out in the goldfields. Your detector's like this, right? What do you think's going to happen? That's going to pull up with water in there, and there's no seals under those screws. And no matter what, the slightest little gap, or you know, if the where the screw goes down, if it's not absolutely milled to within one billionth of a millimeter, it's going to have high and low, and water's going to go in. It just gets in. Okay, so you got to watch out for that. But what people I know have done, you got to mark this out very carefully with some calipers. They drill holes in their detectors And I'll get something to poke. Where I'm trying to do multiple things here. Here we go. They drill holes along here. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4. But you do it from here, from this side. Don't do it where the connector is, and don't go through and hit the damn threads on that if you want to drill holes in it. So you just basically along that plastic there, bang, bang, bang. You want to get it as close to that as possible. You don't want to drill into that. So that's why you got to use calipers and do it mathematically. You know, half the diameter of the drill, step it out, do it on the other side, measure it, and then very carefully you can drill it low speed, and then water will run out. There is so many of these I have seen that water has got in, okay? The detector's been packed on its side, like so, and then whilst the water is in there, it's gone over that way. And the water drips all over the circuit board, even though they have an epoxy coating on the boards. There's a lot of little through plates, which are the track connectors between top and bottom of the boards. The water goes into those, and as far as I can tell, they're not really well painted on the inside. It's just copper. And if there's any copper exposed, you know what's going to happen? The water's going to sit there and it's going to eat the copper away, and it's going to cause a problem, as in an open circuit between one of the connectors between one side of the board and the other. So if I get one of these old scrappy boards over here, you can see, have a look at this one, okay? You can see daylight. Well, you probably can't see daylight, but I can. Depends where I've got the camera angled. But if I stick it up at the light there, okay, God, it actually kills that light for some reason. You see all the holes? They're all through plates. There's holes there. And if water gets on those holes, good night, Irene. It takes them out because you've got applied voltages on those holes. And I'm not worried about the big ones, the little ones near all those 4053 chips there, they well, the detector won't work. It won't ground balance and it won't pick up particular signals. But if they get chewed out, but yeah, there's a lot of things there. Even under the ICs, the paint doesn't get under the ICs. If you unsoldered those ICs there, you'll see that the back of the legs are all bare tinned copper, and what will happen, water will get in under those ICs and it will start doing electrolysis leg to leg behind the ICs. You can't see it, you can't clean it, and your detector will fail. Possibly. I won't say it will for sure, because it depends how long it's sitting there and the amount of damage that gets done. Anyway, back onto this detector. This goes for any of these detectors with this Mylar. And I'm going to show you some other things too with it. First of all, Mylar, this. Not so much on these yet because they're still fairly newish within reason, but on these, and it's not actually on the back, it's on the front. What happens is that you'll be detecting away and you'll lose threshold. You'll have no threshold on your detector, and you go, what's going on? And oh God, I've got to grab the whole detector to do this. Hang on, have I got one? No, because they're all connected up onto the circuit board with the connector for the coil. Thus, they're very hard to manipulate around. Anyway, I'll grab this one here and I'll show you what happens. Excuse the board hanging off it, but there's a board hanging off it. I'll turn this around so it makes it a bit easier for me to do this. Okay, that's the front panel. You can see here, right? Have a look here on the foil. All that sort of a colorization there. I don't know if you can actually see that too well. That's water getting in. Water has got in there. That's water. So this must have been, yeah, I can see it. Where those screws were, there's little rings around them, possibly where it's mixed with some, you know, goldfield dirt, fine dust, and it's got in there. I don't know why the detector must have been put in the car that way or something, but yeah, that's what happens. It gets water inside, and depends where it drips. Oh, I can see watermarks on here. Oh, there's watermarks here everywhere. This was left outside, I'd say. There's all water there, on there. There's drips on the film there, and it's a little bit discoloured here. Not much, but anyway, let's have a look at this. There's your threshold pot, that black thing. Let's have a look what's behind. There it is there. Ah, this one's being done, right? This will prove a point. What happens is this mylar is plugged into the board and it's pulled down fairly hard. And what happens? And this one's actually happened to, and I've actually repaired it before it went too far. It rips through right there, right in that corner, right here where this is resting. And what I've done, I've stopped it. I put hot melt glue. What you do, give the mylar a little bit of a clean up with isopropyl, and even give it a little bit of a tiny rub with some very rough sandpaper to give it some grip onto the mylar with hot melt glue. Hot melt glue is very successful in repairing this. You put a big dump of glue there, so you get a big surface area. What you want to do is you want to stop this pulling down, and it rips straight through. It'll rip through the tracks coming off the pot here, and it'll just rip straight through the first one. Goodbye threshold, and if it keeps going, you're going to lose other functionality. You'll probably lose control of your little frequency tune button as well as it progresses. So be aware of tension here and get in first. Just take the front of it off and hot melt glue it exactly where I've done there. And I've also usually do it on the back. I haven't done it on this one. It wasn't too far gone. But you want to sandwich it in hot melt glue to stop that ripping. It will rip. Eventually, it'll go through. I've found so many of them. That's just one here. And like I say, it's already happened to this one. So we've taken care of that. Anyway, the mylar on these, for some reason, it's very soft. It's very easy to bend. It's not a problem. Like it, you know, it's got a lot of wobble to it. Okay, so put that over there. Now have a look at this 6000. That's where the speaker is on 6000. Look at it, full of dirt. Okay, that is, no matter what, it's just hard. Even though it's hitting on the case, and I'll bend it upwards a bit. It's just hard. It's very hard, stiff as a board. I mean, stiff as a piece of work hardened copper. You know, when you, I don't know if you ever did trade school. I don't know if they have trade school these days, do they? I don't know. But when we did trade school, we used to make things out of copper, and we bang it with a hammer, and it was soft to start with, and it would go harder and harder as you impacted it with a hammer, and then you'd have to throw it in the kiln, or you know, for a little bit, get it cherry red, and then it would be soft again. So that's how you anneal it. This stuff, you can't anneal it because if you do that, you're going to burn all the mylar away, and it's going to be stuffed. So you're stuck with it. You're stuck with work hardened copper. But the thing is, I thought about this, and you should do this to these detectors, and I will specify and stipulate you do this when it's out of warranty, okay? Because if it fails while it's in warranty, well, guess what? You don't have to worry about it. You've got to worry about the postage, sending it somewhere. But if it's out of warranty, you can do this with all these detectors. Now, I think I had some of this before. I showed some other, what I did with this, stuck it on a gold monster or something. This is white Velcro. You know, I don't use white Velcro on anything. It just looks weird on a metal detector. It's just not a good color for a metal detector. So this can be used, or part of it. I've got the soft side of this, not the prickle side. Doesn't make any difference. But because this has a little bit of, you know, it's got the glue on the back of it. with, you know, they're going to take the paper off and it'll stick down. What I thought, why not use this as a vibration damping device where it can't sit there and do a high frequency vibration, which probably is the worst way of doing it because it's very, very fast movements on this from any source of vibration. I'm thinking about traveling in a car or whatever and going down corrugated roads or whatever. You know, might have tons of little pebbles all over a goldfield, and if you're driving over them, and you know the car's just going bang, 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 bang. Well, what do you think that's doing inside? You know that thing. It's going to sit there and do nothing. No, it's going to be getting the vibrations through, and it will be doing a dance. And I've always said with that what do they call it? Foam rubber stuff. You should always have your detectors sitting on blocks or a big sheet of foam rubber, not sitting in the back hard in the back of the car, ute or whatever, bouncing up and down and just getting all the vibrations from the road attacking everything in the detector. If certain large size components, if they're not put on the board properly, if it gets a little bit of flex, you do 5,000 kilometers and the bloody, I've seen it, capacitors fall off the board, right? If you actually look at these old boards, okay, this is what I'll point this, why not, right? This is an old GPX 4500 that came off a quad bike at great speed, and that was the end of that. Yeah. So if you see these caps here, these have been glued, right? And it's been painted over. But, you know, excuse me, but your glue wasn't very good. What that is, why that happened is because someone just got the glue, the hot melt glue, and they haven't had the glue very hot. And this was probably done on a freezing cold day. And these just suck the heat out. There's no adherence whatsoever. And like there on the big cap, same again. If you get round, no, you can hardly see it, but you know, if I just grab that with a get in there with a pair of cutters, but I'll just use these like tweezers. Right? If I just grab that, there you go. Look, there you go, straight off. So it doesn't adhere. Now these components have large mass, and what happens? Well, you can see it here. They got a hell of a lot of wobble. Look at that. Look, wobble, wobble, wobble. If I sat there and I wobbled that back and forth like that for a fair amount of time, right, uh, you know what'll happen, don't you? Well, that capacitor will probably fall off the board. Same with that one, that big one there, right? Look, wobble, wobble. And you know, if you got wire, they've got wire legs on these. You get a piece of wire and you bend it back and forth. What do you think happens? Well, guess what that is? It's got wire on it. It'll sit there and go wobble, 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 and you'll lose your 200-volt capacitor, right? Your detector will become extremely noisy as the poor MOSFET here tries to do what this is trying to do as well, which is store the energy. That's just going to get red hot. Poor thing. But anyway, it'll still work, but it'll get noisy as hell if this breaks a leg. Anyway, yeah, that one there, wobble, wobble, wobble. That's excessive. That really is. If I was doing, well, I used to do boards. I used to look after production lines years ago as one of my many jobs. And if stuff like that were going out the door, I would stomp on it and say, no, 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 that's not going out the door. So the thing is that hot melt glue, if not done properly, and if you got to heat these, just heat these up. Heat them up to about 50 degrees with a hot air gun or something. It won't hurt anything. Not for an extended long time, but just heat them up, take the chill off them, and then hot melt glue these components, big components, and try and get the glue off then. It won't come off. This is just lack of forethought, wrong glue, just my opinion. I'm not saying that anyone went out of their way that, you know, and did it wrongly. I'm just saying that, oh, there goes the phone. I'm just saying that, yeah, it's been sitting there for so many years, it's all fallen off. It can happen on new ones too, but hopefully that, oh dear me, hang on, bear with me. Yeah, I'm making a video. You're on the video now.
Oh, fantastic. What sort of video are you making?
I just detector one.
Ah, wonderful. Is it working?
What now or what?
Is the whatever your video,
Yeah,
whatever the
it's on.
detector is doing?
Your voice will be all over YouTube.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah,
Welcome, DetectorMods crew. Happy to be here. Happy to be a part of it. This
fair
is
enough.
Michael,
Yeah,
vague affiliate.
yeah,
Nice, nice to see y'all.
yeah.
I'll check in with you in a bit if you'd like.
Okay,
Why,
I'll get
why
back
are
to
you
my
answering your phone if you're making a video?
because it's going da 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 in the background.
Good way to shut it up.
Yeah.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Okay. See ya.
Yeah.
Bye. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? Okay, we'll get some of this stuff anyway, right? The rest of it you got to hot melt glue. Just so you don't go out in the goldfield and have your detectors fail, right? Also, this stuff. How about I'll stick it on here. I'm doing this up for a fellow anyway. I'm done a whole heap of modifications on his GPX 6000, and I'm just cut this first. I'll stick it in front of the camera again, but I'm just going to cut it so I can't work with my arms stretched out cutting things. It's too awkward. So what I've done, I've just cut a length like this, and you could put this underneath the mylar or on top. Don't stick it here. You got to plug those in. They're connectors. The rest of it's inerted, well, basically. So what I'll do, I'll get this and pull off the paper. Now it's stuck to my fingers. This stuff sticks like the proverbial to a blanket, by the way. It's really actually very good. You could put this both sides of it, but what I've done, I just stuck it on like that, right? So this, oops, bang the camera. I'll just tighten that up so it doesn't fly off. That there, just sticking that on, is going to absorb a lot of vibration because it's fairly thick and it's got a lot of fluff on it, and it's got a bit of whatever glue on it, and yeah, it will slow down high speed vibrations. You can use you can get the other Velcro and stick the other Velcro to it if you want to, and put more mass there. The more mass, as in weight, over that will stop it doing the fleck. You can't really, well, I suppose you can, but depends what you put there. Don't put too much weight there, um, in a spot like right in the middle or something like that, because that will become a big movement. But when you do something light, um, and that absorbs vibration, that'll do it fine. You can get sticky rubbers and stuff like that. You can use the stuff that seals doors, from the wind, stuff like that. You can just stick it on there, and that will stop, uh, you know, this premature failure if there was going to be one. It'll slow it right down. So there you go. Tony, I've done that to your detector, so uh, that's all right. But the rest of it's done. I was going to reassemble this detector now, but that is a good way of stopping it. And the other thing too, if you wanted to, you could do that on the older detectors like this, and it will, if you can see it there, because it's not anchored, it's going to wobble like hell, right? Of course. But the high frequency vibrations, because even if it's fixed like this, it's fixed hard, it's still got the wobble. It's going to wobble, wobble, vibrate, vibrate, and eventually it's going to fail. It will fail. Do you know how many car radios I've had people say, "Oh, can you fix my display?" It's freaking these things all the time. Right? No, I don't do that stuff anymore. That's years ago. It's 1980s, but that was common. They use these things in old car radios to put in displays and things. And vibration, car gets a bit of age on it. Average age of failure. What Mitsubishis? I remember lots of Mitsubishis fail. Toyotas fail. Back in the 80s, all those sort of cars. I don't know, earliest may have been 4 years, 6 years, and the longer out they go, the more likely are just to fail. And the whole thing's vibrate apart anyway in a car. You know, you listen to your car radio and you'll have speakers go on and off. It's because the solder joints through the board for the power amplifiers, they're anchored to the side like this, and the circuit board's sitting out here, and it goes flex, 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 and they all do this. They just go through the solder, and it intermittent. So resolder all those if your speakers don't work. So yeah, I've done lots of stuff over the years. I tell you, there's lots of stuff. I know lots of stuff. So yeah, lots of how to repairs, how to stop it, how to stop failure, forward thinking. You know, what if this happens? What's the situation of this? Oh, it's a metal detector. They're going to put it on their arm and swing it left and right at probably, you know, about two hertz or something. You know, back and forth, very slow. They might get up to 5 cycles or something a second if they're swinging it fast back and forth. You know, what's that going to do? Nothing. But you've got to take into account, how is it going to be shipped? How is this thing moved around? What temperature ranges is that going to experience? All this sort of stuff. You'd have to do environmental, you know, tests on it, where you stick it in a cabinet and you steam it and you cook it and you do this and you cycle it really fast, and it's like doing 10 years of cycling in a week, and you look for failures. And yeah, that's what's meant to happen with what's meant to happen. I don't know if it does. Just my opinion. It's meant to happen. But yeah, you know, if you do environmental testing, proper environmental testing, to the proper standards, it will show these possible faults. Possible faults, I'll call them. Possible breaks and fall aparts. So that's that. So my idea is that if the design has these mylars in there, why not just dampen them, any vibration out, so it doesn't attack it? You could actually stick this stuff all over your circuit boards if you wanted to, on the back of the board, and you know, just dampen out vibrations. It's probably not good enough for doing that. You want something a bit thicker. You really want that really thick, dense rubber for something like doing a circuit board. Um, you know, probably about 4 millimeters thick. Yeah, with a sticky backing, and you'd probably want to put a bit more, uh, you know, adhesion on it, on the sides of it to the board or something, because it probably just, you know, the glue. I'll tell you right now, the glue dries out and it falls off. Right, all this glue on these things eventually might take 10 years. One day it'll dry out, it'll fall off. You know, and don't get me on about glues. Um, I know someone who made lots of circuit boards and put this particular brown snot glue on all the components, and they did this on their production runs. This is out of Japan, by the way, right? Should know better. And the glue, it dried hard. It was meant to be rubbery glue. It dried hard, and it turned into an acid. And the acid ate through all the copper on the circuit boards. I'm not joking. And this went into equipment that was worth, at the time, anywhere between $40,000 to $80,000 a piece, which I thought was rather amusing. So we have these boards come in, and I'd have to chisel away this brown dried gunk and guarantee it underneath. You could see all the copper had turned green, and there was no continuity, just been eaten through. It's very, very common. Um, it's like, I used to call it snot glue, but shoe glue or something like that. But whatever they used, fail. You know, that's because it probably wasn't cycled. Heat cold, heat cold, heat cold, and look at where the failure point is with that material. So yeah, that's that's a bit of information for you on watch out for what glues you use. Uh, Hot melt glue, if not applied properly, will dry out too and fall off. But preheating the boards and then putting the hot melt glue on there, and make sure it's a clean surface, it should stay there for probably 10 years, maybe longer. Um, but you know, the rest of I've got boards everywhere here on detectors, old ones. If I touch the components, the glue between them will just break off. It falls away. There's no pressure needed. It just drops. So be wary, and yeah, there's no harm in doing that. It doesn't bump into anything, and even if it did, just stop a wear through, wouldn't it? So yeah, you could do here, but that's fairly solid, and it's not going to get much of a vibration here by ruts in the road or anything. Long pieces, yes, they will suffer it. I know that because I used to do environmental testing. But anyway, all good. I've got a parcel that's arrived, and yes, very good. It's something. Oh, that's for doing surface mount stuff. Beautiful. Okay. Anyway, guys, that's enough on that. So, if you want to know about stopping your detectors failing in the field, you can just copy what I did and just make sure that your detector's out of warranty. All the GPXs will be out of warranty except for 5000s by now, I'd say. So, yeah, all good. Catch us later.